Ladies and gentlemen, this is Scott Pollock, Chief Editor of the Critical Post Chicago reporting. Welcome to another edition of the Goldwater Report. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a drop-in edit, and the reason that I'm doing it is because after taking a look at the lengths of the part 2 of the Keenan, Wilcock, Fulford, PTSD Bailey Internet Feedback Loop and Information Fraud and Wire Fraud. These segments are entirely too long to put in one video. So the second one is almost 2 hours long. Let me take a look here. Yeah, 2 hours and 10 minutes, and the third one is an hour and a half. So there's no way we can fit it in. So over the next few days, we'll be editing them, mixing them down, and putting them up. So stay tuned to the Critical Post Chicago. Here is part 2A of the investigation, and it's more of a rebuttal to the remarks that were made by PTSD Bailey and Neil Keenan. So if you want to skip this one, part 2B will be uploaded tomorrow or the next day, and part 2C will be uploaded very shortly after that. Here's part 2A of the Keenan investigation into this wire fraud. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for spending your time with us. We know your time is valuable, and we appreciate it. You know, we've got a lot more investigations that we're doing right now. And if you want to support our investigations, here's a little commercial, and you appreciate our efforts, you can go to the Critical Post Chicago store and buy a pair of sunglasses. Or you can simply visit an advertiser by clicking on them from any page inside the Critical Post while visiting the news site. Google will pay us. It requires no donation from you. It's totally free of charge, and we'll get paid. We spent a lot of money on this particular investigation, this Wilcock, Keenan, Fulford, PTSD Bailey fraud. So we'd appreciate any help you got. In the meantime, we are slowly bringing more staff on, and the next investigation is in the works, which involves the way mortgage fraud is occurring inside the court systems of the counties across America. This particular investigation involves the courthouse in Wayne County, Indiana, and how the FBI dropped the ball before being goaded into doing their job and documenting the fraud so the judge and other individuals involved can be brought up on charges. More on this series very soon. It is a Critical Post Chicago exclusive. You'll find it very interesting and also very disturbing. We are also readying for broadcast submission an interview with one of the most informed legal experts in the country, a man by the name of Mr. Harmon L. Taylor. This interview is going to explain to you exactly what the current legal environment that America's people are experiencing and how it has occurred. The interview is part of our series of debunking all the alternative media websites making wild claims regarding sovereign citizenship, free man movement, the Constitution, and other matters. We've been on this particular quest for about 9 months, and we want to get to the bottom of it. Harmon L. Taylor has those answers for you. He will also be a regular guest of the Critical Push Chicago's interview series, along with Bill Still, Douglas Diedrich, Kerry Cassidy, and others still yet to come. You're going to find this discussion with Harmon L. Taylor very informative. So stay tuned for that, because that's going to be coming on the heels of this final report regarding the fraud that has been perpetrated on the web for 3 years by these men: Wilcock, Keenan, Fulford, and PTSD Bailey. Ladies and gentlemen, this broadcast submission is part 2 of the investigation into the wire fraud regarding the Wilcock, Keenan, Fulford, PTSD Bailey internet feedback loop and fraud, which has been perpetrated on the web since the latter part of 2011 and the opening months of 2012 by the aforementioned individuals. It was helped along the way by the PR from George Norrie's Coast to Coast AM radio show, and in that regard you should be suspect for listening to that show, and give any listener that listens to that show pause before taking the information from that show and considering it verifiable fact that needs no further corroboration. Be very careful about what you think, ladies and gentlemen, when you listen to those shows. It's a book-selling program. That's what it does. It sells books. The alternative news sites, along with the various blogger, author booksellers who use that medium of communication, need to learn professionalism when it comes to properly formatting news content. Now, this broadcast submission wraps up what we've been listening to and reading concerning the communications between Gene Haynes and the fraud Neil Keenan, along with his cohorts. There's been a great deal of evidence to listen to and read, and the inventory of evidence is quite extensive. Later on, we're going to pick up from where we left off, which is the relationship of a known fraud to Keenan by the name of Keith Francis Scott and his dealings with Keenan. And if you recall, we have found evidence that it was Keith Scott who schooled Keenan as to how to make money from unwitting audiences on the web by spinning a yarn about legacy, high-value banking instruments, and concocting a storyline which mixes facts with fictions about these coupon-type bonds. In this first part, though, it won't take much on our part, because we're going to deal with the information fraud first, which is what helped to publicize and conflate this story, and it is what primarily Gene Haynes had to put her faith in, because it was David Wilcock who Miss Haynes trusted as a careful and well-sourced author. But you'll find out he wasn't that well-sourced. Wilcock's web series Financial Tyranny is what led Haynes, as well as scores of others, to start following this web of deceit. We don't have to go too far into every aspect of Wilcock's fantasy, where we are confronted with the first part of the beginning of this fantasy. In the part following this first chapter of the expose, we're going to show you all the receipts from Jean Haynes to verify the extent of the expenses she incurred, and we're going to show you various Skype messages along with recordings of Keenan playing Jean Haynes while baiting her to keep him in the chips. Also to show you that in fact Jean Haynes was led to believe she had a deal with Keenan for a healthy return on her loan to him. Should she have gotten it in writing before dispensing with any money? Well, of course. Was she stupid to get involved after putting her faith in Wilcock's fantasy called Financial Tyranny? You bet. But that's water under the bridge and well downstream by now. Another thing we'd like to mention is, it was Jean Haynes who schooled Keenan on how to run a blog. In effect, what occurred was Jean Haynes became Keenan's personal propagandist. From listening to the recordings, they spent hours talking to each other about how to work what I call Keenan's propaganda about his exploits. Propagandizing the comments section, responding to comments, all this stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, personally, listening to this man was one of the most disgusting tasks I have ever encountered, but I said I would do it, and there it is. I was locked in. I have listened to the many ways in which this jerk reveled in his own ego while twisting Haynes around his finger so he could get her to send him more money while he was in Jakarta, attending to the alleged release of another one of his fraud counterparts, one Mr. Martha Wibawa, a.k.a., or also known as a guy by the name of Nelu. We'll have more information about him as we roll along through this. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's not forget what you learned in the previous videos as a result of my interviews with Paul Collin regarding what a semantical operation missioned by the CIA looks and sounds like. You can find that information in several of the other broadcasts we have on our YouTube channel. If you don't understand what you were talking about, I suggest you go back and listen to the series, because we're not going to spend too much time in this broadcast to school you on what a semantical operation is at this point and how the CIA works them. I will warn you once again, ladies and gentlemen, don't you give this man, this piece of garbage, Neil Keenan, or any of his friends, one more dime. Nothing. Not one more dime. I guarantee you, you'll never see the money again, and nothing they say will happen is going to happen except them making a living off of your stupidity, fear, and ignorance. If you're one of their followers, like the people in Cosmic Voice. I'll also warn you, folks, very little that comes out of this man's mouth is anything but a bunch of exaggerated lies laced with a couple of facts. Oh, he'll deny any fact we illuminate here. The only thing he can do, after being presented with his own BS, is say, you didn't see that, you didn't hear that, you listen to me. Don't you trust me? Trust Neil Keenan, because I'm the real deal. All these other people are imposters. In other words, he'll have his own counter-narrative and spin, and if you believe it, well, that's what he wants. He wants you to believe him. Never mind what's over there. Don't pay attention to that man behind the curtain, because I am the great and powerful Wizard of Oz. Ladies and gentlemen, don't you believe one word that comes out of this guy's yap. Period. End of statement. Now, there's a lot of material we're going to be presenting here, so strap yourselves in for a bit of a ride as we meander through the various levels of deceit which have been thrown at you. For those who followed this fantasy since its inception on the web 3 years ago, we'll remind you, nothing these men have said has come to pass in any manner whatsoever. You know, it's been quite a slog to get through all this, and I want to thank Paul Cowan and the Point Man for the White Hat Report. These two men came to the aid of this platform as a result of us exposing this fraud in the manner we did. There were plenty of others in the background who helped too. But had it not been for the efforts of Paul Cowan, whose recent career had found him as an intelligence asset for the Department of Homeland Security, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement Office of Special Investigations, had it not been for his assistance, I would not have understood the nature and the complexities of this particular kind of fraud. As well, I would not have understood exactly what a medium-term note or MTM trading platform was had it not been for the Point Man of the White Hats Report for teaching me what I was needing to understand there. Both are experts. Paul's an expert in the legacy banking instruments and the natures of the kinds of fraud that the CIA puts into operations worldwide. The former Point Man for the White Hat, or let me rephrase that, the Point Man for the White Hat Report is a 40-year professional career auditor and private investigator whose specialty is recovering stolen or defrauded funds and getting them back to the defrauded party in whole or in part. Ladies and gentlemen, you might want to ask me, do I trust these men? You bet I do. Am I certain they're not trying to sheep dip me in some web of deception? Yes. I spent enough time with them in person and on the phone, along with any due diligence on our part, investigating into their backgrounds, to be 100% certain of the information. In other words, these men are not working for an intelligence agency as provocateurs, provoking me. No. They came to our aid when they saw the job that was being done to expose these frauds for what they are. Plus, I can tell you quite confidently at this point, I've spent enough time with them to count both of these men as friends of mine. which we'll be working with more closely in the future regarding other matters and investigations. However, before we get into the rest of this and anything further, I want to play a couple of clips that were directed at me from these frauds, because apparently we must have been getting under their skin. Listen to this one by the man I've come to know as PTSD Bailey. Yes, the monkeys with a microphone, Thomas Williams and PTSD Bailey, who profess to know everything about anything. And let's not forget what this man said 3 years ago, along with David Wilcock, that there was going to be mass arrests of all top officials in America, and that the American militias in the States were going to be an integral part of the operation. Check this out. I want you to listen to this.
I got one more thing to go through before we get to the cues.
Yeah, that's okay.
Contrary to popular belief, and due to a lack of action, several of the people involved in what I do have been taking the short end of the stick, being beat over the head with it, and had a bunch of muckraking going on. Well, you finally pissed some people off, all of you out there who think this has been fun and games. We decided to lock and load. Very soon now, the first shots will be fired in your direction. You can take that literally if you want to, and go.
The first shots are going to be fired in our direction. Well, wait until you see what those shots were. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, this was recorded on February 11th, 2015. So that's 2 months ago. Do you see me? I'm still here. What happened to those shots? Well, let's listen further. Listen to this garbage.
And go hide under the bed. I really don't give a shit.
Go hide under the bed. You don't really give a crap, huh? Is that right? How professional are you?
I'm at the point where assholes like Scott Pollock and a few other mothers out there are going to find out how nasty things can get.
We're going to find out how nasty things can get. Is that right, Bailey? PTSD Bailey is going to get nasty. Okay. Let's listen to how they're going to get nasty.
If, and this is a promise, and I'm saying this open, and it's getting recorded, if that don't fix it, it will be taken care of on the QT. And I hope you understand that there are a lot of people that I know and have known over the years, and there are some people listening to this show who have direct contact with the people I'm talking about, who owe me a favor. And I'm going to ask for the favor to be returned in no uncertain terms. The fun and games stops the hard way if necessary. I just want you guys to be, all you people out there that love us so much, to be aware of this is coming, and we're coming for you. Now let's try some cues.
You're coming for me. Is that right, PTSD Bailey? Huh? Well, at the conclusion of this segment, I'm going to have a couple of things to say to you. But what a bunch of empty nonsense. Ladies and gentlemen, what person in their right mind that's going to do anything to somebody is going to put it out on the web in a public forum and tell you that they're going to do something? What kind of idiot would do that? I don't get it. But as you can see, I'm still sitting here. Perhaps Neil Keenan and PTSD Bailey thought that that was enough to stop me from exposing their garbage. Ooh, I should be shaking in my boots from such a incredible threat. Going to be taken care of on the QT. Gonna get me. Going to be hiding in the shadows. Is that right, PTSD Bailey? You got friends, huh? Is that right? Well, as you can see, PTSD Bailey, I'm still here. And your friends haven't done a thing for you yet. And if they do, well, we'll just see, won't we? How does it feel to be baited, PTSD Bailey? You swallowed it hook, line, and sinker. You sit there and you put that garbage on your blog about contacting the Attorney General from the state of Illinois, and how long they spent on the phone with you. An hour and a half one Sunday afternoon, as I recall. So then we called them up, and schooled you as to what the Attorney General for the state of Illinois actually does. But no. That wasn't enough. See. Now it took you characters a couple of months to swallow that bait, hook, line, and sinker. But you were being baited, you dummies. So let's not stop there. Let's not stop there. Let's take a look at this. So the other idiot, the fraud, Neil Keenan, that palooka, he couldn't resist. He couldn't resist. He had to come out with this. Take a look at this. A couple of months ago, let's see, when was this beauty put on the web? On March 4th, a little bit over a month ago, right? And he says you can't catch a fish if he keeps his mouth closed. Keenan, you can't find your butt with both hands at 12 noon at State and Madison with a spotlight on you. Listen to how he conflates himself. Listen to this. Having crossed the line again and again, Neil will let these would-be detractors deal with the results of their own actions. They created a plan based upon lies and deceit, and now it all comes down full circle on them. Really? The great Neil Keenan, What is coming full circle? Ladies and gentlemen, nothing is coming full circle. So then he says, on this stupid post, he says, so he has set in motion this legal action against the ankle biters, and now rightfully leaves the work to the authorities and lawyers. There's no doubt that Haynes and Pollock will have entirely new priorities to deal with from here on out, as well as their motley crew. In the meantime, Neil dedicates himself to moving forward steadfastly as always, and for now. The Keenan team says bye-bye. Neil Keenan and the Keenan team signed off on that. And then he's got this stupid little cartoon. This is the way this man learned how to blog from Gene Haynes. And he puts a cartoon on there. What kind of professional does this? A professional. This man is a globe-trotting financier. You ever look at the manicure of this guy? So, the State of Illinois Attorney General's Office, attention Lisa Manigan, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and the Canadian Attorney General Offices, Honorable Susan Anton, yada, yada, yada. To whom it may concern, for approximately the past 8 months, I've been attacked by one Gene Haynes, whom I believe is an illegal resident in Canada, as her visa expired long ago. Miss Haynes, together with other individuals, has attempted to discredit not only me personally, but the work that has been done by our group to this date. Miss Haynes was once my associate, but our relationship has turned sour. Then he goes on to complain about Gene recording his Skype conversations, because he found out that I've got them and that I'm playing them on the web. And he complained last time. His privacy was being violated. Poor baby. Your privacy being violated. Guy reneged on a deal. But then he goes on. Approximately 3 weeks ago, I called the RCMP in Kelowna to make them aware of the fact that Miss Haynes was slandering, defaming, and outright lying about me on a certain paper, video blog called The Critical Post Chicago, which is also published from Chicago via the internet. And he goes on to say that I'm selectively pasting things in order that anyone listening would only hear certain parts of any particular conversation between Haynes and himself, but not all of it. As if they're really interested in everything you've got to say, Keenan. What do you think, I should let them listen to you meander? Hey, listen, it's real simple, Keenan. All you have to do is have you or your lawyer call 312-544-0134. And just so you know up front, I'm going to be recording those calls. But you don't have the guts to call here, you big dummy. Because you know that there's somebody with more than a double-digit IQ sitting in this chair. goes on in this stupid thing. Miss Haynes subsequently began releasing statements on her blog that David Wilcock, Benjamin Fulford, Drake Bailey, Michael Dunn, and I stole her funds in the amounts in excess of 300,000 United States dollars, but this is entirely false. Well, guess what, Keenan? I'm going to do a roll call of every single receipt that Gene Haynes has, and you just lied. You got it? Stay tuned, Keenan. But anyways, so he sits there and he registers this email. He sends it to, you know, he said he was in Plovdiv. I guess that's how it's pronounced, Bulgaria. Then he publishes our domain name search on the web, and he publishes Gene Haynes' phone number so that people, the trolls that he's got listening to him, will call Gene Haynes and bother her. That's why he did it. Then he puts our information up there. Let me tell you something, Keenan. I'm not afraid of anything you've got, nor am I afraid for anybody to know where the critical post is located, or any phone numbers for that matter. Matter of fact, had it not been me publishing the phone numbers, the individuals that said they gave you bitcoins through Gene Haynes' blog wouldn't have called and said how they were ripped off after they got over their embarrassment for having believed you. Then he sits there and he posts a thing. This is in violation of state law. Well, guess what, Keenan? There was a court case. But no, I'm going to let you listen to it for yourself. You idiot. You ready, Keenan? Listen to this. This was done this morning.
Attorney General Lisa Madigan's office.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Very well.
Good. My name is Scott Pollock, and I'm calling from my online newspaper, the Critical Post Chicago. And I would like to ask you a couple of public interest questions.
You'd probably want to talk to somebody in our press office.
No, not really. I'm calling constituent services.
Yeah. Same office I called last time. Constituent services. Keep listening, Keenan.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to make a recording of this phone call. Do you have a problem answering a couple of general questions?
How about I get you over to my supervisor? He'd probably be in a better position to answer anything that you might ask.
Sure.
One moment, please. Thanks for holding. He's actually stepped away from his desk. Would you like to hold for another minute or two until he gets back, or should I take your number?
I can hold.
Okay, just a moment.
Thank you.
Good morning. This is Mike.
Hi, Mike. Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine.
Mike, my name is Scott Pollock, and I am the chief editor of a online Chicago newspaper called the Critical Post Chicago.
Okay.
And I'm recording this phone call. I have a couple of general questions that I'd like answered.
Okay. Typically, press calls are usually handled by our press office, but if it's something basic, I might be able to help you, but...
Yeah, it is basic. It is basic. Now, I'd like to preface my remarks here. A couple of months ago, I made a call to constituent services, and I did not tell the person that I was recording that call. Okay, when I spoke with them.
And who did you talk to? Do you know?
No, but she was a very nice woman, and she answered my questions for me. But I'm reaffirming that now. If I recorded that phone call, and I used it for public consumption without her knowledge, but being that I'm a taxpayer in Illinois, did I violate any laws?
Well, I can't. I'm not going to give you any legal opinions, but that's a little up in the air, is my understanding. I mean, that's just my understanding of it. I'm not an attorney.
Okay. Oh, an opinion. Did you hear that, Keenan? He's not going to give any opinion. Let's listen to that again.
That's a little up in the air.
A little up in the air.
I mean, that's just my understanding of it. I'm not an attorney.
Okay.
But the eavesdropping law in Illinois was challenged, and they're kind of back to square one and trying to redo that. So, but that's kind of aside the point. Did you have a specific question you needed answered? I'll see if it's something I should send to the press office.
They're back to square one, Keenan. But as you can see, he had no problem knowing whether he knew he was being recorded or not, answering these questions. Why would they? Huh? But you got all these people on your blog, and we're going to get to that in a second. You got all these people on your blog, bunch of dummies, swallowing everything you say. Keep listening.
Yeah, well, I believe that the answer that I got in that phone call to this question was the question was, does the state of Illinois handle on the behalf of a private citizen, whether in the country or out of the country, does the state of Illinois handle on behalf of a citizen defamation of character or anything like that?
No.
Right.
We don't provide legal services to individuals generally.
Right. In other words, the state of Illinois has to have a vested interest in that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's one way to put it. We don't act as attorneys, as an attorney for individual people, and certainly, and that would be most likely a civil lawsuit, so you'd need your own attorney.
Right. And also, based on the previous answer to the previous question, it is unlikely, in your opinion, that if somebody filed a complaint that I taped a phone call, at this particular point in time, because it's a gray area, the state of Illinois is very unlikely to lodge any complaints against me for taping that phone call.
It likely, even if it were, let's say that statute was violated, that would not be the state of Illinois. Well, I shouldn't say the state of Illinois. It wouldn't be the Attorney General's office. Those kind of almost all criminal complaints are handled by state's attorneys at the county level. So that too would be dealing with it if it were a violation of the law.
So there you go, Keenan. He just told you. You're in the wrong office, you dummy. Maybe you should go somewhere else. And maybe if it would be defamation of character, if you could prove financial damages, and maybe it would be defamation of character if somebody from the press, like myself, was bearing false witness to slander you. Yeah? But you see, Keenan, I've got facts. But that's okay. Have your attorney call 312-544-0134. I'll talk to him. And like I say, I'm going to record that phone call. You got it? Let's listen to the rest of this. Got a couple of things to show you. You're going to like this, ladies and gentlemen.
Uh-huh.
But I can't give you an opinion on whether you violated the law or not. So I'm not sure if there's any more I can help you with.
No, those are the two questions. I just wanted to let you know that I was taping this conversation.
That's fine.
And like that. So I really appreciate you taking the time with me this morning, and thank you very much.
No problem, sir. Take care.
And this is Constituent Services from the Illinois State Attorney General's Office. Is that correct?
The Illinois Attorney General's Office, correct.
Okay. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
This man thinks you folks are stupid. Either that, or this worldwide, globe-trotting financier who knows everything has just admitted to you he doesn't know what he's doing. Ladies and gentlemen, if you read this guy's garbage on his blog, bloviating about himself and how he's saving humanity and how he's going to help the world and all this other garbage and nonsense, if you read that garbage to take it seriously, then you're not too bright. Don't you give this man one more dime. Defamation of character. You have to prove, Keenan, that you suffered financial damages. Now, how would you prove that? I wonder. You might want to answer that question for yourself, Keenan. What would happen if you tried to prove it? Ask yourself that. Do you think I or my attorneys are going to tip our hat so you can see what's inside? Is that right? Is that what you think? But wait, ladies and gentlemen, there's more here in this first little bunch of stuff before we get on to the fraud, Jean Haynes and her receipts, the deal that she had, all this stuff. There's more to this. He was getting a little antsy. See? Let me bring this up for you. Is that one? No, it's not that one. It's, oh yeah. I think it's down here. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. I got to work this interface. He was getting a little antsy. Yeah, I'll just do it this way. So I get this letter from Jean Haynes yesterday morning. You see, Keenan was getting a little antsy. I mean, I said that we weren't going to deal with any more of this garbage until part 2. So he thought he would bait me by sending somebody to Jean Haynes' new blog because she's given up the old blog. And this idiot, one of these dummies out there, writes this to Jean Haynes. Jean, you don't know me, but I respect the fact that you provided help to the people at a time when Neil was ready to walk away. As if Neil was going to do anything. This guy is still believing, this idiot, Neil Keenan. And I appreciate your help at such an important juncture. I know some of the people that Neil is working with, and Neil does not wish to continue fighting with you. You don't, huh? Is that right, Keenan? Well, I got a solution for you. I'll get to that in a little bit. But it's not Gene Haynes that took up this whole thing, Keenan. It's me. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what you're seeing in my behavior is the passion and disgust that I have in dealing with this piece of garbage and this information. It's disgusting. What a piece of garbage. He goes on. He would rather forget the whole damn thing. But if this Scott Pollock releases anything regarding Neil or the efforts of his team whatsoever, Neil has made it perfectly clear to Frank Amadeo that he will take it as an affront not only from Pollock, but from you. No big deal. You'll be offended. Is that right, Keenan? Neil will take such a fight to the end, and with your inclusion. This would be of your own doing, considering that you forwarded the recordings that say nothing to Pollock, and Neil will officially file criminal complaints in Illinois against both Pollock and yourself. Is that right? You better watch what you say, Keenan. Everything that takes place from now on, you are included in, as you initiated the actions. Ladies and gentlemen, this profile on Gene Haynes' blog, old blog, the person, this sounds like Keenan wrote it to the guy. Either that or it's one of his own sock puppets, and this is actually Neil talking through a sock puppet on the internet. Neil is not pointing the finger at you, but he is letting you know that he does not give a crap, and he will file criminal complaints. And whether that happens or not depends on the decisions that yourself and Pollock make from here on in. Is that right? Here's where he really delivers the punch. Neil has been told by the Attorney General's office in Chicago that should he file official complaints, that they will indeed initiate legal actions on their side also. Did you hear what the guy said? Huh? Now I've got two different recordings. The same results. A worldwide financier, a globe-trotting financier, this guy can't tie his shoelaces, and he has people come like this, try and rattle Gene Haynes? Is that right? See, he's a little worried, folks. And remember what I told you about all that stuff, last reports, one of the last reports. Remember that? About, yeah, here it is. Check this out. About nose touching, face touching, and how somebody who's lying can't suppress their own subliminal activity. Their body gives them away. Now here is this palooka. Look at it. Look at this clown sitting there with a Ireland shirt on. Huh? This is his house in Bulgaria. No, he didn't have all of his little trinkets in front of him this time. But here he is. Listen to this.
And so the legal complaint that I filed, it's not worth talking about. It's in the hands of the authorities right now. You know, I get tired of hearing about it, and I get
right up there on his face. Look at that. Yeah, it's been filed, but he knows it means nothing. Let's take a look at that again. See, he can't help himself, ladies and gentlemen. Look at the body language.
The legal complaint that I filed, it's not worth talking
Nose
about.
touch.
It's in the hands of the authorities right now. You know.
Yeah. See.
I get tired of hearing about it, and I get tired of hearing the bullshit, and I decided, let's just throw it out there and let's let it go where it may. I know I'm right. You know, I'm not the one that's cringing in the corner somewhere saying, geez, they caught me. I mean, they caught.
Cringing in the corner, is that right? Is that right? Hey, anytime you want to come to Chicago and go on camera, or anytime you want to call 312-544-0134, or have your attorney call 312-544-0134, or have PTSD Bailey call 312-544-0134. Anytime. I'll take the phone call. You big dummy. You insult people like this. You insult their intelligence. And you've been insulting their intelligence for so long, you got a little bit of a propaganda problem now, Keenan. Take a look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Let me show you a web ranking. See this? This is from a web ranking site on websites. Now, you see where this little box is? I can't make it any larger. But you see where this little box is? Right here. When Neil Keenan was in his heyday, he actually had some graphing going on there. But he fell out of the top 100,000 websites in a global rank. Can you believe it, ladies and gentlemen? This guy, after being propagandized by David Wilcock and Benjamin Fulford and PTSD Bailey and Gene Haynes and others who have linked into his site, and while he was using Gene Haynes as his propagandist, he actually was had a web ranking as being in one of the top 100,000 websites in the world. Last month when we took this, or no, this is about a week ago. I think it was about a week ago. Yeah, 10 days. 10 days ago when we took this snapshot, you'll see that he dropped to 620,177 web ranking. That's one hell of a drop. He dropped over 500,000 web ranks since we've been publishing these things. Now, it may not be because we've been publishing this stuff. It just may be because people are getting sick and tired of listening to a bunch of nonsense. But be that as it may. Then there's another one over here. Let me bring that up for you, ladies and gentlemen. taken this morning. So from last week to this morning, he dropped another 84,000 web ranks. Yeah, Keenan. People are done with you, Keenan. They're losing interest. And you know why that is. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're seeing here is the last gasps of garbage coming from these frauds. This is a lingering old CIA operation that was perpetrated on the web. And they're done with it. There's nothing else for Keenan to do. He did his job. Oh, you don't believe he was working for the CIA, huh? Is that right, ladies and gentlemen? Now, as for this palooka, PTSD Bailey. Let's listen to this one more time.
I got one more thing to go through before we get to the cues.
Yeah, that's okay.
Contrary to popular belief, and due to a lack of action, several of the people involved in what I do have been taking the short end of the stick, being beat over the head with it, and had a bunch of muckraking going on. Well, you finally pissed some people off, all of you out there who think this has been fun and games. We decided to lock and load. Very soon now, the first shots will be fired in your direction. You can take that literally if you want to and go hide under the bed. I really don't give a shit. I'm at the point where assholes like Scott Pollock and a few other mothers out there are going to find out how nasty things can get. If, and this is a promise, and I'm saying this open, and it's getting recorded, if that don't fix it, it will be taken care of on the QT.
On the QT.
And I hope you understand that there are a lot of people that I know and have known over the years, and there are some people listening to this show who have direct contact with the people I'm talking about, who owe me a favor. And I'm going to ask for the favor to be returned in no uncertain terms. The fun and games stops the hard way if necessary. I just want you guys to be, all of you people out there that love us so much, to be aware of this is coming, and we're coming for you. Now let's try some cues.
You're coming for us. Are you, PTSD Bailey? Hey, anytime you want, PTSD Bailey. 312-544-0134. Now, we got an address for you, PTSD Bailey. Tell you what. Why don't you call on the phone, and I'll be recording that phone call. 312-544-0134. And give me your address. Now, we have an address for you. We don't know if it's right or not. But after we're done with this, the only other thing we're going to do for this population of people that are paying attention to this, which is diminishing very quickly, and you, PTSD Bailey, they're not listening to you anymore. They know what kind of fool you are. But I guarantee you one thing. You give me your address. Give me your phone number. And I'm going to mount up a crew, and I'm going to come to see you. I'm not going to tell you when I'm going to get there once I find out where you really live. But I'm going to put 4 cameras on you, because I want people to see the kind of idiot that they're dealing with. You got the guts for that, Bailey? You got a friend, Bailey. Why don't you call this friend up on the phone? This friend of yours has spent a lot of time on the phone with me. You might know who that person is. And ask that person if in fact I bluff. That's all you have to do. 312-544-0134. Give me your address. And I'm showing up with a crew. And you can have all your friends and your fatigues. Let me tell you something, Bailey. The culture of men I come from don't come back from a theater of war and complain about how tough it was. We're all veterans. My father went through a buzzsaw on Iwo Jima that'd make your teeth rattle just thinking about it. My big cousin Ron, my big cousin Neil, both on the Pollock side of the family. Both came back from Vietnam, just like you. You know what they did? They went on with their lives and became successful. I came back from serving. I never said anything to anybody about what I saw. Didn't make stories about any exploits in the Army. You got it, PTSD, Bailey? So I guess, as they say in Chicago, like Muddy Waters in the famous song Mannish Boy, I guess you're just a mannish boy. A girly man. The men in my family don't whine. They don't seek attention like you. 312-544-0134, PTSD Bailey, or Neil Keenan. That's all you have to do is call on the phone. And let me know where you live, Bailey. And you can say those things to my face. You got it? Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back in just a second. I got to set up for the next edit. The next edit's going to be how the information fraud was set up. Okay? So I'll be right back. I need to set that whole presentation up. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the 2A part of this expose. As I said in the beginning of the clip, these things have been too long. There was too much to present. So the next one will be along very shortly. And get ready for 2B. You're going to find it quite educational. Thanks. Stay tuned to the Critical Post Chicago for Part 2B of this expose. Thanks again.